Today I want to talk about whether or not you should consider adding sheep to your homestead or small farm. I'm Natalie Lucier from Waykeeper Farm and Nerdery. And since I talk about sheep all the time on this channel, you would think that my answer would be yes, get sheep, absolutely, they're awesome. And they are awesome. But I don't think that starting a sheep farming operation, even on a small scale, is for everyone. And sheep come with a pretty steep learning curve. Now, I didn't know this before getting sheep on our farm, but there's other channels like Homesteading that talk about how sheep should never be one of the first animals that you bring to your farm. And I completely agree with this. Luckily, we started with chickens, and I think they're definitely some of the easiest farm animals to start with. Then we got ducks and geese, and those are also really easy to take care of and keep healthy. But here's the thing, they don't really prepare you for getting sheep. And that's exactly what we got next on our farm. So sometimes we definitely get a little too ambitious with our farm projects. And I talked about this in another video where I feel like we decided to play a video game where we were in hard mode instead of easy mode, where we wanted to get all the animals as quickly as possible without necessarily doing as much of our homework up front. So this is why I'm glad you're watching this video so you don't have the mistakes that we went through. So you might be wondering what's so hard about sheep? Well, the thing with sheep is that they all have intestinal parasites. And if you don't know what you're doing when you're dealing with them, it's very easy for sheep to have a higher worm load or higher parasite load, and they can easily die. On our farm, we've lost sheep to barber pole worm, which is a sneaky parasite that multiplies in the stomach of your sheep and sucks the blood from the inside until the sheep becomes anemic and dies. So here's the thing, all sheep have these types of worms or other types of worms. It's sort of just part of the ecosystem of a sheep. And these worms lay eggs which come out with the poop as the sheep are grazing. And so what happens is that over time, your pastures can have more and more worms that are available for sheep to eat or at least ingest and get back in as they're grazing. So knowing how to rotationally graze properly so that your sheep are not at a higher rate of worms is actually really important, but it's not the only key to success. You also need to monitor the health of your sheep. And if you're just getting started like we were, it's really hard to know what to look for. You'll want to do fecal egg counts, which basically means collecting the poop of your sheep and then using a microscope to look and see how many eggs there are in the solution that you end up creating so that you can see what the worm load is in each of your sheep. And a fecal egg count is super helpful. It's something we didn't do right away because we didn't know how to do it. And also a lot of the labs in our area were not taking on new clients. So beyond that, you also want to just visually assess the health of your sheep. Are they losing weight? Are they also becoming anemic? You can check that through the eyelid and really see if it's becoming too pale. So those are all the types of things that you need to learn very quickly once you bring sheep to your farm. And if you're brand new to taking care of animals, which is completely different than dogs and cats, for example, then it's a lot to learn and it can be really heartbreaking if you don't do it right and you lose a sheep. Now, beyond the health side and making sure that your sheep don't get too many parasites, you also need to keep in mind that sheep need to be sheared if you're getting a wool type of sheep. If you don't know how to shear, then you can either hire someone or learn, but that's a whole other thing to take on. Sheep can also be expensive if you're looking for a specific type of dairy breed, and there are definitely ways to start on the lower end and work your way up if you're not quite sure if sheep are for you. And you also need a good amount of space to rotationally graze so that you don't have those high parasite loads that I was talking about. So if you're considering getting sheep for your homestead or farm, then you'll want to try to find a local mentor that can help you and answer your questions, especially if they're in your region. They will know things that work well in your space. You'll also want to join an online group of sheep owners. I have some links below of great communities where you can ask questions and get feedback and just learn what other people are doing in the space. And you'll also want to find a local vet that works with sheep. Okay, now that I may have put a damper on your excitement about sheep, let's talk about what I love about having sheep on our homestead. First of all, they're really smart and amazing creatures. You can also improve your pastures with their help through rotational grazing, which is amazing. And you can also get meat, milk, and wool depending on which breeds you go for. Now, if you're curious about the startup costs for a dairy sheep operation on the homestead level, watch this video where I break down exactly what it costs.